Well, let us review. All right. ISS, this is the first year, transitioning from a beginning teacher to ISS coordinator. And we're coming to the end of the year, right? This is the late May, heading into June, right? So let's do a review, year in review. ISS is primarily set up for students who are not cooperating, who are not doing what they should do in the learning environment. They are being removed from the normal day. It may be a 1-day indoor suspension, 2, 3. Usually it's about 3 days on the average. Can be 1 day. Also, there's lunch detention, where for whatever reason they've been misconducting themselves during lunch. All right. So you've got lunch detention. Also, teachers may bounce them out of the classroom to get them a chance to reset, redirect. Ultimately, then if that doesn't work or they're having difficulty there, they contact administration if there's disruption in the classroom, and the administration will forward them or send them to ISS, indoor suspension. After you're in indoor suspension, the likelihood that you may possibly be sent home to OSS if you don't cooperate in the indoor suspension. Indoor suspension is simply that. You've now been removed from the normal day, and all the things that you had privy to or information access, teachers, questions, laptops, all materials. Now you've been removed from the learning environment, and now you're in ISS. Now, on average, I tell students, this is a lot of time that you're wasting, right? And so in order to make it as productive as possible for themselves as well as myself, it's important that we do something other than just sit here, right? I can't sit here all day watching you do nothing, and so that's not going to happen. So teachers will get them the work that they're required to complete. Now, here's the dilemma. If you're not doing the classwork in class, and you come to ISS and you want to sleep or not do any work, that's not going to happen either, right? Now, again, as I said, it's a long day in here. On average, after homeroom, they are going to be here for about 6 hours, right? So homeroom and intervention ends about 9:30. So they go to homeroom, they take attendance, make sure they're accounted for today. Intervention, they go over what they need. It's kind of like a early morning review of things that they need to do or any areas that they're lacking in. All right. So they get here about 9:30 on average, right? Now I will get students here earlier. If we're in the cafeteria after breakfast, school actually starts about 8:45 is when the first bell rings. And so at that point, they go to homeroom. Now, when they do wind up here in ISS, it's about, again, around roughly about 9:30, if they're not sent here directly after homeroom, once they go to homeroom. All right, so now that's about 6 hours. Because about 3:30 at that point, the buses are not yet been really called, but they're releasing students to their parents via a barcode system, which, once they arrive, it populates on a spreadsheet here on a whiteboard, right? Each teacher has access. They go in, they click on in their email, and it gives a spreadsheet, and it gives the student's name and or the buses when they come in and when they arrive, and the students are being released at that point. All right. So at that point, you're here for 6 hours. That's a long time. And so we do the math, right? Time management. You're 6 hours a day. You're here for 1 day. That's 6 hours. 2 days. That's 12 hours. 3 days. That's 18 hours. All right. Out of that week. So that's 3 days, Monday through Wednesday, or whatever the combination might be. Now, if it's a Friday or a Thursday, then you'll proceed to come back on the following week and serve that day. This is a lot of time that you have not in class, not getting instructed. And no matter how much work I give you or things I do, it's not going to replace the teacher. So the biggest dilemma is you have situations where students want to come to ISS for various reasons, right? Now, my intent is not to make it comfortable, pleasant, but I do aim to try to motivate them in as many ways as I can. Through conversation, we go back and forth with certain issues that they may have in the classroom, and one of the main things they come in and say, I didn't do nothing. Well, then we proceed to go over to what I have on the board is the Student Code of Conduct, right? Now, these are the rules and regulations, right? Every school district have it, everybody has it, and I've said to them a million times that your parents, if they have a job, and when you get a job, you're going to have rules and regulation, policies and procedures. You got HR, human resources, right? Absenteeism, tardy, profanity, sexual harassment. All of these things are going to be covered. And if your parents are not on time, they will be docked pay. They will not be paid, or they will be relieved. So when you're saying, oh, I was only 30 minutes late, or 5 minutes late, right? In actuality, you were just late, right? Now, these are things that we all have to deal with. I've had to deal with them, and sometimes, things happen that's beyond your control. Now, prime example, what I try to teach them. I get here almost 45 minutes before I have to actually clock in. As a beginning teacher, we didn't clock in or out, right? And so this is the first year that I have to clock in, which is not a problem for me because I leave before time I need to be here. If I have any delays, God willing, I can still adjust and get here on time. Now that's just the quality of wanting to be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be. Am I consistent throughout my life? No. There are areas where I've fallen short, okay? We all have. So that's not the issue. The issue is you do the best you can under the circumstances. And this is what I'm trying to relate to these students, right? You have a responsibility, right? This is your job, right? These Student Code of Conduct is here to teach you that this is how life is going to be. You have to be where you're supposed to be, do what you're supposed to do, and be on time, and be responsible for completing your work assignments, right? So this wraps up this first year. It's been great. I've enjoyed it. I'll be back next year. And over the summer, we're about to go into some other things over the summer. It's summer vacation. Now, of course, here's the other part, right? About 2 weeks ago, when we came back from spring break, let's be honest. When we came back from spring break or Easter vacation, whatever you call it, right? We're on the decline, right? Time is running out. School is about to be over. And now the students are at a level 10. This is the dilemma, right? Whereas I would only have on occasion 5 or 6 students at the beginning of the day, I'm now at about maybe 8 or 9 or 10. And then they're coming in periodically throughout the day. So I've had as many as 18, 19, 20 students in this room. And in this room, I try to keep them separated. I'll walk you around. I try to keep them separated where they're not right next to each other. Although these have like cubicle spaces, I just try to keep them distant, not so close in proximity to one another. So that being said, the last couple weeks, and we only have about a little over, at the end of the month, 19, let's say 13 days, right? The numbers of students that are increasingly winding up in ISS these last few weeks before the summer vacation is astronomical. They've gotten at what we call spring, summer fever, whatever it is, but they just can feel that things are over. We do have testing coming up. So there'll be testing beginning next week for all grade levels. So the testing is coming up, but they just feel as if, they're just outdoors already. And that's not quite there yet. So I try to also explain to some of the student athletes and other students, what you do in this last semester will affect your eligibility going into the fall. So this is not a time to slack off and think that, oh, the school year is over, I can just, lay back and do nothing. Getting students suspended for 10 days, outdoor suspension, with only, a little over 10 days or more for the actual official end of school. And this really irritates me. And when I see those students, I'm very concerned, and I'm telling them so. I'm disappointed. What are you doing? 10 days out of school at this point. We got testing coming up. Now, you may be allowed to come back for the test, but, what are you doing? Why get suspended for 10 days, outdoor suspension, when we've got less than 15 or 20 days? All right? So that's been one of my biggest dilemmas and one of the biggest frustrations. Of course, when I was in the classroom, I didn't see that portion of it. And to my knowledge, I didn't have students really being suspended like that when I was in the high school level. But the middle school, things are different. Every school is different throughout the country, the different situations. So it's just one of those things that, you hate to see, because this is wrapping up the year. You're finishing up the year, and there's no reason for you to be, like you're already out of school and you're just running around. You're running through the hallways. You're, going ballistic. Now, I will say this administration has and will be even tightening up those things going into the next year. Because, again, this is my first year in indoor suspension, and we have a new administration here, and they were getting some things back on track from the last couple of years here at the school, right? And they've done a good job of rounding that up and analyzing what they need to do in order to curtail a lot of things that that bled over from the last couple of years and gotten most of that under control, right? Things have been, from what I understand, a lot better than it was previously. So, and that's how it is. Sometimes you have to have new blood, new management. People come in and redirect the situation, right? So that's the good news. But again, I'm going to walk you around and show you some of the things in review that we have to deal with. And school will be out for the summer. I'll probably be signing off. I'll probably be coming on and do some other things over the summer to keep you informed of what's going on with myself and how things are going in my little world, right? And so let's do this. Let's take a quick walk around and take a look at some things, right? And so here we have our infamous and here's my rag where I clean my desk, right? I like to clean everything up, right? So here's where they put their cell phones, right? You put your cell phone here if it's one of those things where you can't seem to control yourself. And I'm going to show you an article also. The school district is also talking about, now these are the cubicles, right? These are the desks where the students sit, right? So as we walk around and I give you a view of what we do here, right? And these are the student code of conduct, right? We go over all of these so the students are fully aware of what's expected of them, right? There's no excuse whatsoever for not knowing what you're supposed to do, right? And so this is one of those things where you try to keep them informed and you do all the things that you need to do in order to get them back on track, right? So here we have what happens here is the I can statements. State requires that their employability skills that are trained in so they understand what employers are going to want and what they need to communicate and deal with once they get in the workspace, right? This is the lesson that we're trying to teach them. So, again, it's important to understand that ISS is an important part of the school system, be it as it may. It's a situation where you have to have somewhere for students to get back on track and to figure out what it is that they're doing wrong, all right? So that being said, I'm going to sign off for this year, and God God bless you and your family over the summer. Kids are out. You're going on vacation. I want everybody to be safe. I'll be remiss if I didn't say this. For high school, when I was in high school over here, this is a critical time of the year where students need to be conscious, particularly the seniors. They're ecstatic, they're graduating, they're driving their cars, and unfortunately, they're going out and partying and doing some things that they shouldn't do. And unfortunately, there's a loss of life throughout the country during the month of June, just because tragedies and situations that students find themselves in. The other thing is a lot of pranks we've dealt with, and had a video that you might want to check out with Shador Sanders going to the high school in Cleveland. And again, I first went to college at Kent State, so I have an affection for Cleveland. Trying to motivate students. Now, students going out and partying at graduation and finding themselves, intoxicated or in accidents, loss of life, and pranks. Pranks are not funny. I don't think pranks, I've never really got into pranks, and even the prank that go on social media in order to get clicks and entertainment is not necessarily entertainment for me. I'll say during graduation, you've got these senior pranks where they go and they do graffiti or do whatever, destruction of school property. Same thing in the community. We're running around. I did mention to the students a few weeks ago here, up in Virginia, student was going, ringing doorbells 3 a.m. in the morning, and the individual called the police, thought someone was breaking in, and unfortunately came out and shot and killed one of those individuals. It's 3 a.m. in the morning, and he was supposed to be going to his prom later on that Saturday. This was about May 3rd, somewhere, one of those weekends. So, and I try to also teach the students the same thing, right? These student pranks and, horseplay, none of these things actually lead to anything good, right? It goes awry. You're shooting rubber bands at one another or doing whatever, hits somebody in the eye, they lose an eye. Unintended consequence. That wasn't what you were intended to do. All right. But as I did mention, I did want to talk about, now this school district is, I have in a newspaper here, I pick up, it's talking about considering limiting students' use of cell phones in school. That's becoming a real problem, and not becoming, it's been a real problem for a while. And parents, you need to really understand that, as much as your child, we know that that's your baby, right? But this is not something that they need to have in school. If anything happens, yes, it's gotten dangerous, but that cell phone can also be an alarm if it's not turned off, if it's not properly secured, that if we do have an emergency on campus and it's going off, it automatically lets people know someone's there or in this room or wherever it is. And so our lockdown processes, and as I was in Florida for spring break, and I'm from Florida originally, Miami, Florida State had a tragedy on campus with the shooter on campus. So that being said, cell phones don't need to be in class because they're distracting. They get on their headsets now, the beats, and then we go over the rules with the electronics devices and everything else. But again, parents, you have to take control. Now, at the end of the day, these teachers are working diligently. It's a tough enough job, right? You have to be supportive, right? And unfortunately, your children do not, and at times, exaggerate, right? Because as they come in here, it's always never their fault. And I remember my mother, one of the things, if she ever had to come to school, that was going to be the end of me. But she wanted to know, what did I do? See, you're letting your children tell you the story, and they're not telling you what they did, right? And then it becomes, the teacher and the administration, the school's fault. Number one thing, with my daughter, you don't take too much credit for their success. You don't take too much blame for their failures, right? Because there are children that come up in good families and have different situations. But the children, they're individuals. They're going to do what they want to do, or they're going to do, get in trouble, or whatever. All right? So it is your responsibility. You must curtail this whole cell phone thinking, because it's not a requirement. It's not that they got to have it. It's not part of the curriculum. They have a laptop, and going on the laptop on inappropriate sites is getting their laptops removed, right? They're playing games on the laptops. They're not doing the classwork. They're entertaining themselves and not paying attention. If this is your child and you know your children, and I know that's the society we're in now, the culture we're in. AI is here, but there's no replacing the fact that you still are going to need an education of some sort. All right? So that being said, and again, I did divert here, but as I recalled, this is important. You've got to take control as parents. That's your responsibility. As I tell these students, your minors, your dependents, your job is to come to school and get an education. That is your job. Not to be an ISS, not to complain about what the teacher don't like you, not to complain about how, somebody else is doing something that they're picking on you. All right? Don't make yourself the object of the problem, right? Laughing at other students who want to be the class clown. Nothing entertaining about it. All right? So, going into the next year, school year will be starting in probably late August. All right? Going into September and the fall. It's always a great time. So, over the summer, I'm going to keep myself busy. You keep yourself busy. Everybody stay safe. No pranks. Over the summer, we want everybody back here safe and sound. God bless you. Have a great summer. I'm out.